Hey guys, welcome back to the YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about and doing a restoration on this big bush knife that I made a few months ago. It's got a few problems with it, but I really like the overall design, and I think I could make a few improvements now that I've had a little bit more time to learn how to blacksmith and how to make things to a higher quality. So let's get started with why I like this thing, and then I'll go into some of the flaws that it has. Really like it. It's very useful. It's very good for chopping down trees. It can act as a self-defense weapon, and overall I think it just looks really neat. It's got a very thick tang, as you can see. It's more than a 1/4 inch thick. I think it's very heavy. It's very good for chopping. The handle is pretty comfortable. This leather wrap that I did on the handle makes it pretty easy to use. It gives it a good grip. It's very stable and easy to use double-handed. That's basically the things that I like about it. However, it has a few problems. Starting off with the handle, it only has one steel pin in it, which has kind of made it so up here the scales have actually come loose from the blade. Yeah, the scales up here aren't really attached. They're kind of just held on by the leather, and the only area where it's still attached is down by the pommel up until this pin here. Kind of just nasty looking up at the top where the handle meets the blade. And looking at the blade, it's got an uneven grind. It's not a perfect bevel. The blade edge isn't perfectly straight. There's a lot of areas where it bumps up and down. And the bevel, there's a couple very shallow spots that I should have made more even. Spine is very wide. It's got a lot more width than it needs. It makes it a little bit hard to use with one hand for a long time. So something I'd like to do is I'd like to trim down the spine to make it a little less wide, and trim down the weight overall. I'd like to refinish the bevel, make it all uniform, and I would like to reheat treat it, because when I originally heat treated it, only about halfway up the blade is actually hard. This last half is all soft steel. It wasn't properly quenched, resulting in it being completely dull for about the last half of the blade. I can run my finger along that all day and I'm not going to get cut. And the tip has actually taken a very subtle bend, but it's very hard to see. So that's what I plan on doing with this bush knife, or boreal machete as I like to call it. I'm gonna trim the spine down, I'm gonna give it a new bevel, and I'm gonna reheat treat it. Alright, you can now see that the bevel is becoming pretty even, and it's kind of getting rid of that fully convex bevel, which is something you don't really want. You kind of want more of a flat bevel and then a convex edge. Sorry, I gotta try not to decapitate my cat. Alright, since my last video, a lot of people pointed out that I wasn't wearing proper PPE, and I totally agree, which is why I'm wearing safety glasses, a face shield, a dust mask, and earplugs. No gloves though. Alright, so I've finally re-beveled the bush knife, and overall it's a lot neater than it was before. It's not perfect, but you can really see how flat the bevel is, and it's also a better angle, so it'll be better for slicing through heavy brush. I made the spine less wide, and that probably shaved off a good 1/4 pound, so I can really swing it more easily now. But right now it's still soft steel, and I needed a way to reheat treat it. And the old forge was too small. It only had about a 9-inch heating area, and this is a 15.5-inch blade. So in welding class, I made a new forge, and behind me here is a new forge blower that I've created. I just made it out of like brass fittings and ball valves and stuff. It's a little precarious because it is like high pressure, like propane. It's flammable. So I'm gonna test out this blower I made, and yeah, we'll see if it works, and hopefully I'll be able to use it to heat up my new forge and give this bush knife a proper heat treat. So basically it's just unregulated propane hose that goes to all these mishmash of fittings and stuff that goes to this ball valve. And then this pipe here has a MIG welding tip drilled and tapped into the side, and it's facing down the barrel of our blower. And so basically the gas is gonna flow into this pipe and shoot down the MIG tip, and the air is gonna get sucked in from this side, and it's gonna mix inside here and expand in this area and then blow down into the forge. So yeah, I'm gonna light it up and see if it works. Alright, so I'm opening the valve on the propane tank. I already hear a little leak somewhere. Alright, so something I forgot to do before I fired it up is I forgot to put on the Teflon tape. Basically it's just this sealant that you wrap around the threads and then do it up tight, and that will prevent gas from escaping. So I'm going to do that now. Alright, so now that I taped up all the seams, I have the pressure on the propane tank, and there's no leaks. So now we're going to try seeing if it'll make a proper flame. The flame I'm looking for is like a nice bright blue flame. Huh. That's a little too fireball-y. Alright, so testing out the blower here, I found out kind of a problem with it. Alright, so if I just give it gas, it goes like that, but if I blow down the tube, now as you saw there, if I blow down the tube, it gives it more oxygen, which gives it a proper oxidizing flame. So I think what I need some sort of forced air, like a hair dryer or something at the back here to get it blowing properly. Alright, a few hours later and a couple burned eyebrows, I finally got a proper blower system working. I put a hair dryer on the top. It's just taped up because I needed that forced air to get the full burn. And I finally have the blower sitting in the dog. Now this is a forge that I made in my welding class, and it's basically just a big metal cylinder. This is a door on the front. This can unscrew and open, and yeah, it's basically lined with plaster and sand for insulation. And I have the blower hooked up to the top there, and I'm basically gonna light this up and show you how it works. So basically I just turn on the gas just a little bit, only a little bit should be coming out. I light that. It's having trouble lighting. Alright, now it's lit. As you can see, it is just pumping heat into this forge. There's how it's rigged up. It only takes a few seconds for it to get super hot in there. It has a lid that I can put on it. guys, it's now daytime. I've been buffing the sword, making it really shiny. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start normalizing it, which basically involves getting the sword red hot and then letting it cool on its own. So now I'm gonna let this cool on its own, and I'll repeat the process a couple times, and it'll have a nice even grain structure inside. Okay, I've now normalized the knife. I'm not sure if it was a successful normalization, just because I think I might have gotten the steel too hot to ideal normalizing temperatures, although I'm not too worried about the blade snapping or anything just because of how thick it is. But once I was done the normalization process here, the blade actually picked up this really strange texture. It kind of looks like a meteor, and it looks pretty neat in my opinion. It looks kind of primitive. It looks like it's made out of stone, and I really kind of like it. People might think it's kind of just like gross and ugly, but I think it's kind of cool because it's got those like nice flat grind lines and everything. And it's got like the nice profile and the nice weight and stuff, but also has that really cool rustic primitive look, and that's something that I actually really like. So I'm probably going to keep the bumps and scale on there. I'm probably not going to grind that off completely. So right now the blade is almost ready to be hardened. I just have to do a few things to the handle. So I have to drill some pinholes, and then I can harden the blade. Alright, I just did a quick little pilot hole. That should just make it so the 1/4-inch drill bit can rest inside of it and really dig in. Alright, so I got all 3 holes drilled for the pins. This big hole over here, this was actually the one that it was riveted to when it was part of a set of leaf springs. So that's what the only pin was actually going through before, but now I have these properly sized pinholes, so I'm going to use those now, and this will just be covered up by the handle scales. I just reprofiled the pommel here just a little bit, not really too different, and I actually put it back in the forge, and I was able to properly normalize at least the first half of the blade. So that's all I'm really going to do for now. The blade is nice and straight. So I'm probably going to heat treat it now. Oh, and one more thing. I added this little, I forget what it's called. It's basically just like a little divot in between the handle and the blade, and it makes it easier to sharpen once it's all done. So, and it looks kind of cool, so that's kind of cool. So basically now I just have to heat treat, and then I'll have to fit on my handles and sharpen the blade. Probably clean up my workspace a little bit before I do this. It's pretty good actually. It's got just a very light squiggle kind of that way, but overall very good, very straight. Let's give it a quick file test, see if it'll skid a file. This is a chainsaw sharpening file, so this is a super hard file. Wow. That is honestly really good. This is an insane file. I used this file to do this little divot here. Only took me about like 2 minutes for me to do that divot. This is a super hard file, and it is skating pretty good. Alright, I think we can call that a successful quench. Alright, after a good heat treat and temper, the blade is really nice. It even has a little bit of flex to it, which is awesome. I got these scales cut out of a piece of wood, and I have one clamped below this. I'm just going to drill the pinholes for it. So I just clamp it like that. And then I drill through the table. Well, right now I'm going to be putting on the handle scales. I got my epoxy right here, and I got my pins here. They're just some 1/4 inch round stock. So basically I'm just going to be covering this with epoxy, and then sticking it all together and trying to get it all lined up and pinched down good. I just got a scrap piece of wood. I'm just going to mix it up. Alright, that should be pretty good. Now the pins go in. There we go. There can't be any gaps in between the wood and the metal. There we go. Alright, now I need to get my vice grips. There we go. Okay, so I've finally got the handle all dried out. It's been about a day. And now I'm going to smooth it out with the angle grinder with the flap disc on it. Alright, so with a combination of the angle grinder, the belt sander, and some sandpaper, I have the handle all shaped out. And now I'm going to burn it and clear coat it to give it that nice texture and nice shine. Alright, so after a quick burn, we have a cool texture on the blade. It looks pretty neat, although it'll really sparkle once I clear coat it, and it'll look really cool. But right now, before I do that, I'm going to put an edge on the blade. Alright, what I have here is a Work Sharp knife and tool sharpener. It's really nice for sharpening knives. It gives a really clean convex edge. I got it as a birthday present from my brother, so it's very useful. I've been using it on every knife I've been making. Alright, that there is a nice convex edge. Razor sharp. Time to finish the handle. Alright, now that the wood is clear coated, it's got a nice shiny texture. And the blade is practically finished. It's got a sharp edge on it, and the handle is all fitted up and very comfortable. Although the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrap it in leather. And yeah, that'll give it some extra grip, and it'll also make it look kind of cool. Alright, so what I have right here is a new leather wrap for the handle. I just cut it out, and I need to punch some holes in it so I can do my stitching, because you can't really punch through this stuff with a sewing needle, it's too tough. So I got a piece of wood here and my little hole punch. Basically just line up where you want the holes to be. And you take something and hit it. And then you got your nice even stitching holes. Alright, the leather grip is now stitched on. It's looking a little ashy though, it's looking a little dry, so I'm going to put some of this oil on it, and that'll give it some more moisture, and it'll also make it a little bit more water resistant. Alright, so the bush knife, or the boreal machete, or the short sword, or whatever you'd like to call it, is finally done. It's got a nice sharp edge on it, and a really nice, comfortable, cool looking handle. But anyways, let's get some testing done. A little split wood. Alright, got some pretty thick logs here. All right, I think that's pretty impressive. That's a pretty wide piece of wood there. That's about 2 inches or 1.5 inches. And you can see from the side there, the chops are nice and clean and deep. And I think I could easily chop down a pretty decent like lodgepole pine or something with this machete. I didn't really show you guys, but right after I had the blade on it last night, I chopped off this like 1-inch spruce branch off the tree, and it was really cool because it was just up there and it swung, chopped right through it. So yeah, if I need to get some limbs for like a spruce bough bed or something, it should be no problem when I am using this. Oh. Split. Let's test how this thing can chop through spruce boughs. These are about a 1/2 inch thick spruce boughs. Yeah, that is a pretty clean job. During this restoration, I was able to improve upon every aspect that made the original boreal machete good, and get rid of all the aspects that made it difficult to use. The handle is now securely fastened with 3 pins and comfortably wrapped in leather for an ideal grip. The bevel is perfect for chopping through heavy brush and chopping down small trees and cutting firewood and things like that. As expertly demonstrated in this video clip, it is clear that the weapon is easily wielded for all self-defense purposes. Thank you guys so much for sticking through to the end of this video. If you like more knife videos, leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll be sure to make more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching.